Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session of our Campus Care debate competition. I, Sakshi, today will be the host with you guys, and we would like to welcome Anju ma'am, who's the principal from Bharatram Global School, Gurgaon. She will be the jury, and she will be deciding and judging all you guys and evaluating you based on what you speak and how do you interject each other. We have students from different schools, and we would like to start this competition with the same. So, our I would like people to start off with the competition right away. Is there anybody who would like to start off first?
Sure, ma'am. I'd like to go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. May I?
Yeah, Suryanshi.
Okay. Ma'am, shall I start?
Of course.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Suryanshi Shukla. I'm a student of Fran International School, currently in grade 12, and I would be speaking for the motion. Over the past few years, gun violence has risen to the forefront of public consciousness. The recent murder of singer Sidhu Moosewala in Punjab and that of teacher Rajni Bala in Jammu is underlining the gun violence prevailing in India. Just as the killing of 19 school children in Texas highlights the gun culture that is prevailing in USA. The association of gun culture with masculinity and its representation in pop culture has been red flagged repeatedly. The fact that Moosewala himself romanticized guns in his lyrics is quite ironic in the tragic saga of his assassination. Laws pertaining to the gun ownership are quite strict, definitely in India. In India, civilian gun ownership is at an astounding 70 million, which is second to the USA. However, this figure seems bizarre considering the fact that only 3.4 million people have the actual license to own guns in India. Clearly, there is an absence in the regulation of these gun laws. So now the question is, why has gun culture gathered so much force globally? The representation of gun culture and gun mafia in top OTT series like Mirzapur, Narcos, etc., where the protagonists themselves are either part of the illegal arms supply or maybe even part of the mafia, is not far from the truth. Sadly, this just doesn't end here. Even online games such as PUBG and Call of Duty, they promote violent behavior and gun culture. Earlier in January, a 14-year-old boy shot dead his entire family under the influence of PUBG. Disheartening as it is, sadly, this is not the first time such games have led to violent crimes and cold-hearted murders. Disheart- Without with today's technology and accessibility to internet, it is very easy for everyone to access such games and shows. This is definitely an alarming trouble worldwide. Such shows and games they romanticize guns. They make it seem okay. They glorify gun culture and associate it with machoism. They have normalized gun culture so much so that it is that people don't even bother to question it. However, these games, they forget to focus on the extreme negative impact their content has on the human mind. This representation of gun culture can and has triggered aggressive thoughts, emotions, and behavior and ultimately affect the mental health of the people and those around them. So now, how many more people will have to die for us to finally understand the ill effects of this representation? How many more crimes need to be committed for us to finally address this grave problem? It is high time that media, filmmakers, content creators, video gamers, they finally regulate their content so that people understand that power does not in fact flow from the barrel of a gun. Thank you.
Thank you, Suryanshi. So, is there anybody who would like to interject, Suryanshi, who's speaking against the motion? Ofo.
Ma'am, I have a very small question. May I ask?
Yeah, sure.
Ma'am, she said that games like Free Fire and PUBG promote like gun mafia and all. So I would just like to ask that, ma'am, when I start Free Fire or anybody start Free Fire, there is a small caution that if you are not above 12 years of age or if you are not above 14 years of age, then you are not allowed to play the game. So, ma'am, doesn't it mean that Free Fire is taking steps and like if younger generation, if we educate them that Free Fire is just a game, game is not in reality, so we can solve this issue.
Okay, so first of all, I did not I did not take the mention of the game Free Fire, but since you have mentioned it, okay, so there is a warning discretion, but
You can take
let's
PUBG.
begin. Yeah, okay, so let's be real. How many of us actually follow these warning discretions? They, even series, they have these guidelines that they're 18 plus or whatsoever, but nobody actually follows it. And even if they do, I think it is not really supervised. So I feel like, yes, it is a good step, but I feel like it still does not address the main problem, that is the ill effects that these games are creating. They are promoting gun culture, they're promoting negativity, they're promoting aggressive behavior, which is in fact the main problem, the root cause of the problem. So I think that is what needs to be addressed. And of course, a warning discretion is a step in that way, but I think we still have a long way to go.
Okay, thank you. And
Yeah, I hope it answers your question, Pranay. So, do we have any somebody who would like to speak about this topic?
Ma'am, may I?
Yeah, sure,
Ma'am, may
Minal.
I?
Sure, Meenal.
Ma'am, Meenal.
Yeah.
I'm speaking against the motion. Ma'am, is my video on?
No.
Ma'am, am I visible now?
Yes.
Thank you. I have never seen a gun walk, talk, or even say hi to me, but I've seen humans walk, talk, and smile at me. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Meenal Kaushik, a student of class 12, Ryan International School, Noida. I'm here to speak on why representation of gun mafia and gun culture should not be banned. When we hear representation of gun culture, we often tend to deviate from the topic and misunderstand it as being analogous to gun culture. We tend to perceive these topics under the umbrella of cause and effect when there's hardly any correlation between both. In this era of social media, there's increased awareness all around us. We have a greater sense of what's right and what's wrong, and we are more exposed to the world. The alarm around us regarding judicious use of social media has incisively demarcated a line which has led to increased awareness, and hence, when we comb through the content available, we consciously and subconsciously categorize it into mostly irrelevant. It is not what is available on social media, but how our mind works, which leads our actions. Our behavior is not connected with what we see, but what we perceive of it consciously. Banning representation of gun culture and mafia will not act as deterrent to easy availability of guns and lack of stringent rule, which leads to violence. It is not the representation of gun culture that loads the bullet, but the lack of legalization regarding gun, and which has endangered such an environment. There are millions of users that plug into watching the same video having representation of gun culture and mafia. If mere representation was the root cause, then as an effect, killing by gun should have been prevalent everywhere. But according to 2019 statistics, gun crimes amount to 0.28% of total crimes in India. Real change would not come from ban of representation, as its absence or presence does not have any effect on prevalence of gun and mafia in the society. We refuse to see the bigger picture, that is, careless attitude of laws adopted regarding guns and mafia, and point our finger to the easiest option to blame gun crimes on, and that is mere representation of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Meenal, for putting across your views. Anybody who would like to interject, Meenal?
Arjun. So my question to you is, so you're talking about normalizing the gun culture, but don't you think it's very much danger for our society? If you give a gun to someone, even if you think it's like all right, but if someday he do something some violent incident, what will you say to that?
Okay, so our topic is, should the representation of gun culture? That is what I stated at the beginning, that we should not deviate from the topic, which is representation. You said that I am saying that to normalize gun culture, and I have never said that in my entire speech. So I think that your question is a little bit apart from what we are discussing today. I never said that we should give gun to a child or something.
Can I follow up?
Yes, Arjun?
Can I follow up?
Yeah.
So, okay. But don't you think it's dangerous for society?
Okay, so if I listen to a song which like represents gun culture, I don't think it in that sense. I usually, when I listen to them, I listen it for the beat and for my fun, for the rhythm of it. I don't think that it is dangerous in any way. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Is the floor open to further questioning?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I also had a question for Meenal, respectfully. So you, just a clarification before that, you did mention that you do believe that the media is not responsible for the amount of gun culture that's there in society, correct?
No, I didn't state that. I didn't use the word media in my
Okay, so but you were also very stuck up to the topic for the previous question. So were you very correct where you said that it was a representation of gun culture in society today? Is that right?
Can you rephrase your question?
Okay, I want to clarify if what you said about gun culture being popular in media not being the reason why we have so much violence.
Yeah,
violence.
I agree. There are so many other effects, so many other causes actually for the gun violence that occurs in our country.
Fair enough. Are you aware of this term are you aware of the term consumerism?
I am aware, but it's just a brief.
So consumerism is basically something in a simple concept. You have advertisements, correct? You see them online all the time.
Yeah.
And you watch them and you feel like buying something.
Yeah.
Correct. Now, do you know movies and production houses? They're paid by gun companies to feature their products in the big screen. So you are basically asking your viewers to buy firearms. There are gun banks which are sponsoring movies. And you're saying that that is something that does not affect the ownership of guns? Can an advertisement
do you think... Okay, so when you watch a movie, you really look at which gun, like some of us do, which guns they are using. And do you know the legal age to have a gun license is 21. So you cannot say that having the ownership of gun and watching a gun cultured movie is on the same line or on the same path.
If you see an advertisement of a product, do you go and buy it? If you like
Not really. If I like it, then who are you talking about? Who is like your consumer over here?
The consumer, who are you targeting? The general public. Okay, I'll give you a fact. USA has a legal right. It's like how India has fundamental rights. US has its fundamental rights too. It's a legal right for US citizens to protect themselves with firearms. So it's almost certain that a US citizen who is in a family, they will have firearms for self-protection. Now that is a law that if you've done your research, you know that people are not ready to budge against it. Correct?
Yeah, that's
so why do people even have the need or the want to purchase guns? It's because of the media. Do you agree or disagree?
And disagree.
Why?
Listen. So what are we talking about today? Representation of gun culture, right?
Correct.
And if I'm talking about like in a movie, it is displayed that a person or someone is using gun, and you like that movie, you'll go buy that gun. Will you go buy that gun?
Here's the thing, right? When products are placed in a movie, and they imagine a gun company is paying.
Yeah, I understood your question. Yeah.
See, we are people with sound minds, I assume, sitting in this debate today. So we're not going to be purchasing guns on the basis of what we see in movies. But that cannot be said about everyone. We watch movies, we see that Akshay Kumar come with pads and tampons. We all feel that thing in the middle, right? We see the smoking advisory, we all feel the thing in the middle. You think people won't feel that about guns?
See. Okay, so I'll give you an example of Japan, okay? So Japan has a very, very strict policy regarding gun and gun licensing. They have the game PUBG, which we earlier talked about. and they have so many movies which show gun culture, but their gun crime, like in general crimes, is very low. If you see their statistics, it's very low. And you know the reason behind it? It's simply the strict gun laws which prevail over there, and it's the licensing and the regulations which follow in Japan. So do you really think that the mere representation of gun culture is the main problem? Are we not blindsiding the real problem over here by just blaming the easiest option, I would say?
I'm confused whether you're answering my question or asking me a question, but if you wish me
I'm answering your question.
Wish for me to answer it, I will surely tell you more about it.
No, I'm answering your question.
Okay. I'll save the rest for what I say. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So I would want to know who's coming up next and would like to express their point.
Drishti,
yeah, Drishti. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, am I visible?
Yes, of course you are.
Okay, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. I, Drishti Kedia from DBS Siliguri, am incredibly proud to be opposing the motion, and I'll be presenting 4 constructives to establish the essence of the debate. I am not going to say that giving people guns decreases crimes. I'm saying it will help increase the level of hate violence or political divide. For example, we all know that the police, or in recent headlines in America also, there was police brutality, which target basically Asians, people from the LGBTQ, black people, leftists, etc. And so we need the protection in the form of guns. The recent headlines have been intensely talking about the recent murder of Sidhu Moosewala as well, and thus raising questions of the morality of selling guns on the black market. Let's take the example, since it hits closer to home. Had Moosewala had armed bodyguards provided by the government, or even a personal gun, he would have been able to protect himself. Had the civilian deaths, especially blacks in America, had carry permits, they could have crossed against the unlawful carry permit holders as well. Moving on, with due respect and homage to those who have lost lives to unlawful gun violence, I would like to establish that the same can be very much controlled instead of directly implementing a ban. For it won't reduce violence. In India, one can legally own a gun under sections 35 and 46 of Arms Rule 2016, stating reasons such as license to museums, license for arms and ammunition for theatrical, film or television production, etc., all of which pertain to self-defense in some way or the other. The capitalist winners of the society must also be provided with security or be allowed to carry a gun for self-defense, as with money and fame comes spite. Influential people, or even the most exploited class involved in court cases, also prefer having gun permits because, as we know, being at the extremities increases murder chances. Next, completely banning gun culture would be counterproductive considering the level of crime across the world. We live in a mechanical world, and labeling something completely good or bad goes against the laws of both nature and physics. According to 2020 US stats, banning guns won't stop murder, but lawfully owned guns do prevent between 50,000 to 2,500,000 crimes per year, depending on whose figures you trust. I present a question. Haven't you seen people consuming alcohol or even abusing drugs despite all the ban regulations? History will repeat itself if guns are banned too. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. If I give you a gun, a person with a sound mind, you wouldn't go around killing them. If we can provide proper mental health facilities, we might be able to curb unlawful use of the same. What we need is gun regulations, that is closing the loophole where private sellers sell guns on the black market, instituting universal background checks, or maybe even funding evidence-based community anti-violence programs. Thank you.
All right. So is there anyone who would like to interject, Drishti?
Can I?
Of course, Arjun.
If celebrities like Sidhu Moosewala are not safe and are killed with unlicensed guns, what do you think? What don't you think the commoners are more at more risk?
Sidhu Moosewala had been involved in political, distress, and he had Z security up until the last day. He died on 29th May, if I'm not wrong, and until 28th, he had Z security provided by the Punjab government, if I'm not wrong. And how many people will the government provide protection to? At some point, I'm walking on the street until unless there is unlawful work of the gun, I will not be killed. But if I have done something to get myself involved in wrongful, unlawful mafia gangs and all that, I will obviously be on the radar. You can't say that common people are more prone. Nobody is going around in, a market here trying to kill people. It's always something or the other behind a murder.
Let me share an incident with you. On 2012 in Chandigarh, a man who killed a small puppy with an unlicensed gun. And you want to know the reason why? Because he thought that the dog was a threat to him. So if the illegal guns are not banned, don't you think not only humans but even small animals could be at threat?
Okay, so first off, I got your incident. It's a very sad incident that happened. But again, I'll counter it with this incident that happened in Alabama on March 12th in America, right? A burglar was shot and wounded by a homeowner. So as I'm saying, and when it comes to animals, in India and even in other international cases, there are people who rape dolphins and goats. If you're telling me that it's not the mindset of the person rather than handing them a gun, then no, that's not the problem. It's the person's mental health that is at on the verge of needing a very bad, very urgent medical help. So yes, there are incidents where guns have been used to save lives as well. It's not always the negative. And as I said in my speech during the last part, that it needs to be very, very much concentrated on the mental health of the people as well. And that is why in India and internationally also, when you give someone a license, you check whether the person is of sound mind or not.
Ma'am, Srishti, you want to say something?
Is the no, ma'am, I answered my question. Any other question?
Ma'am, I wanted to ask.
Yes, Suryanshi.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, two things. First, you have talked about how sound-minded people are only given license. However, like I mentioned, the gun ownership is the figure is at 70 million, while the legally registered number is only 3.4 million. So, are you really sure that only sound-minded people have access to guns? I feel like that is wrong. Another thing that you have mentioned. Let me complete. Another thing is that you have talked about mental health and that. So also, don't you think this representation of gun culture affects the mental health? Don't you think it triggers violent behavior? It even triggers past trauma that could lead up to such violent behavior.
Okay, thank you for your question. So answering your first part, I wanted to say that, could you please repeat the question? The first part.
Yeah, okay. So you have mentioned how only sound-minded people get the license, right? But I don't think that's true because we have
yes, thank you. So yeah, I was saying that when it comes to sound people, not only sound people getting the guns, but also other mentally affected people getting hold of guns illegally. That is what I brought up in the last part of my speech as well. When it came to regulating laws. For example, if there is a loophole on the black market where you can buy and sell guns illegally, then obviously people will want to buy more guns because it's like a loop. You are already involved with some maybe a mafia member or a gang member, and you either need protection or you want to kill the person, and it's a whole loophole. For example, there are so many if you take Mirzapur for example, the show I mean, okay. So in it also, I think there's a whole representation, like mafia representation going on, and you see how the loophole goes. One person kills another, the friend, family of that person wants to kill that person. It's a whole loophole. And I think it will be stopped only when certain laws are, regulated, put into action. And I mean it when I say that we are not looking at gun banning, we are looking at gun regulation. There's a difference. And to answer the second part of your question, the representation or triggering past trauma or whatever it is, I feel like we are all aware of what our trigger points are, what induces anxiety for you personally. So if you know that a gun, watching a gun scene, a murder scene will trigger your anxiety, why are you even watching it? It's your responsibility as a responsible citizen to not trigger yourself, so you will go get hold of a gun or turn into a violent personality. As a person, it falls on you to take care of yourself.
Okay, just to mention, no, it's not true. Not all of us are aware of our trigger points. So it is, maybe some of us are, but it is not true in the case of majority people. And also you
There's therapists there. I mean, you always can seek the help of a therapist or psychiatrist.
Yeah, therapy is not really accessible now, is it? Especially
there's
in
online. There's, I mean, India, it's coming up. It's a very rising job. People are taking up psychology and all. It's very accessible if you want it to be.
Yeah, okay, let's not deviate from a topic. You also mentioned about Mirzapur, right? So yeah, exactly what I also wanted to say. This loophole that you're talking about, isn't that exactly the representation? This representation, they're showing that it is they're glorifying girl culture. They're associating it with masculinity and machoism. So isn't that also part of the problem?
See, as I said, this all is a part of a loophole which needs to be closed by the regulations that have to be brought up. I'm never denying that it wasn't, it isn't harmful. I'm saying that it all needs to be stopped. We cannot completely ban the use of guns because guns are also used as safety in some cases. In various cases, you cannot always just see at the negative point of the gun. And as I said, you have to have a very, strong hold on yourself. Like a loophole, if you're a part of a loophole, go to the police. You don't always need to take matters into your own hands. I'll buy a gun and I'll kill the person who said something to me. You can always visit the police, go to the law, go to the courts and fight a case, and then win instead of murdering that person. Get out of that loophole. You don't always have to be on the illegal side to, win something.
Is the floor still open for questioning?
Srishti, you want to say something?
Is the floor still open for questioning?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to have a very simple question. You read the newspaper, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, awesome. So there was a case that very recently happened in India where I think almost 2-3 days ago, where a child shot his mother and his sister because he was not allowed to play PUBG or something like that.
PUBG, yeah, I heard of it.
You heard of it? Right. So you also mentioned that it's the unsound minds of the people itself which are harming, causing gun violence. Am I right?
Yeah.
It's the people, not the media, correct?
Yes.
What doesn't this establish the relationship between the media and the effect that it has on your brain? The PUBG and the constant violence that he sees on the screen, the constant blood and the constant massacre that he sees on the screen, he or she can get used to it, and then they can't differentiate between what is reality and what's not, and you can see what result of that is. So is the media not responsible for the actions of the person here? Is the media not?
Continue.
I just a last thing. Is the media not why he's not mentally stable enough to make that decision?
No. The media is absolutely responsible for what it shows. But in this case, it was a private choice of the parent and the child to get access to the game.
I'll just stop you right there.
Children play PUBG because they know that it will affect. Please interject then.
I mean, if you read the incident clearly, the mother was unfortunately I'm really sorry about it, but she was shot because she was taking away the privilege of his to play the game. She was stopping her child from playing the game. That's how addicted he was to the screen.
How is it the fault of the mother? It's all about raising the child. I'm not blaming the mother in any way.
Parents' responsibility. She is very much raising the child.
Why not? Did your parents allow you to use Instagram when you were 10? They did not. It is on some part the parents' responsibility. You can't.
Drishti,
and the child was addicted.
I totally agree with you. But you're away from the point. The point is that she was doing her responsibility. She's a very responsible mother. She was taking the game away from her child. She still got shot because of the violence.
That is the anger issues of the child, which should have been looked by at a doctor. At the first sign of that. It's not. Listen. When you have please let me speak. If you have asked me a question, please let me answer. If the child shows such extreme anger issues, his game is being taken away and he'll directly kill the mother. Don't you think there have been prior incidents where the anger issue was shown and in a less intensity? Don't you think that? And if then the parent did not take action and let the child's anger issues grow, Is it how is it like, PUBG's fault, the game's fault? A game is just a simulation to make you feel something, an adrenaline rush. That's it.
Even
when you play a game, listen to me. When you play PUBG and you're shooting people, right? You don't really feel oh my god, I want to try this in real life. Not one sane person would ever feel like that. And as I've said, everything again boils down to mental health issues. The child 100% has shown anger issues prior, and why wasn't he taken to the hospital, or any kind of even minor help would help these things. Just putting a restriction on, little restrictions. I'm not saying altogether push a burden on him. Little restrictions would have helped. That did not take place. It's always a series of actions that come to the consequence. It's not always one thing. You can't entirely blame PUBG. Okay, PUBG, I played PUBG, I got addicted, and then I killed my mother. No, as insensitive as it sounds, it is what it is. It's the truth.
I hope she was able to answer your questions very well. So can we switch on to another speaker who would like to express and then have more interjections? Who would want to come up next and speak on the topic?
Can I go next?
All right, yeah, sure.
Am I visible now?
No, not yet.
Now?
No, Sai.
We can see them.
Srishti, would you like to speak something or express yourself?
Ma'am, Sai is visible to me. Okay, I'll begin.
Yeah, Sai, now you're visible.
So a very good evening to everyone present here. I, Sai Aksha, studying in grade 10 in Adani World School, Nellore, Andhra Pradesh, is speaking against the topic. Should the representation of gun mafia and gun culture be banned? So representation of guns state different things. First thing I would like to say is that guns are not something that is really new to us as a weapon or any kind of element. We have been seeing it from that point of time when the whole entire world was under monarchy. And even today, guns have been visible in the hands of policemen, army generals, and many other soldiers, and all of them. And all these people have just been using guns to protect our nation. Not only our nation, in other nations also people use guns just to protect the nation. And this is how the government officers use guns. But when talking about an individual, even an individual can use guns not to harm someone but to protect oneself. We don't know when threats or attacks happen on us, or they suddenly happen. So to protect ourselves, we need a weapon or something. So guns can be used as a self-defense material at that point of time. And also we see this gun shooting happening in Olympics also. That doesn't represent any kind of violence. It's just how we see the things and how we do it. So this doesn't represent any kind of violence. So it is something that makes children fascinating and creates curiosity in them to play such kind of game. And now talking about crimes, as many of these have stated about crimes happening, killing, and then all these things. That when someone kills or makes a kind of crime, any kind of criminal or terrorist, to stop that particular person, we need someone. And that someone now in our country or in any other country is like policemen or army people. And these people also, to catch such criminals, they need some kind of weapon to stop them, because we know that they're really very harmful. We know how the mindset of such people is. The mindset is like really, really, terrific. We don't know what they're going to do. So at such a point, we need policemen and all of them to carry weapons with them to stop them and to protect themselves first of all to stop them. So in that case, guns have been very important. So how can we say that representation of guns is really bad? It's just that how people think about it. Perspective matters here. Like I've been saying that it helps us. It can bring out peace when criminals have been catched and all that. and few have been told that crimes happen. That means it's all about perspective. It's not about the representation of guns. The one who represent guns, they don't say to people who ever see it that please get into violence, please start using guns, please start harming and all that. It's just that they represent. The way we think about it, the way we analyze or draw or make out things out of it matters there. So hereby I conclude that banning the representation of guns doesn't help anything, but making people understand how to use something or interpret according to the things that have been representing help people. So thank you.
Yeah, the floor is open for interjection. May I have anybody who would like to speak on the same or raise something or interject, whichever way? Would anybody like to interject, or do we shift to another speaker? All right. Do we have another speaker who would like to speak for the topic or against the topic?
Yes, ma'am, I want to speak.
Arjun, would you like to speak or would you like to interject? I guess would you like to speak? You would.
I want to speak.
All right. All right. Sure. Go ahead.
The Shane Stokes rightly say, you can't put guns in people's hand and then claim no responsibility when they murder people. A very warm good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Arjun Ghosh representing Delhi Public Schools, Siliguri. In 2016, India was ranked third in terms of gun-related homicides, and over 90% of the cases involved the use of unlicensed weapons. This indicates that the seizure of illegal guns is only the tip of a very large iceberg. The murder of singer Sidhu Moosewala in Punjab and of teacher Rajni Bala in Jammu over the last 1 week underlines the gun culture prevailing in many parts of India. Just as the killing of 19 school children in Texas on 24th May highlights gun violence in the US. The depiction of gangsterism and gun manufacture in the OTT series Mirzapur, where the protagonist Akhandanan Tripathi is the leading illegal arms supplier in the state, is not as far from the truth. Illegal arms manufacturing has improved by leaps and bounds. The incidence of gun-related crimes in the capital is certainly a cause for worry. The image of a rioter pointing a pistol at a policeman during 2020 Northeast Delhi riots is unforgettable. Gunfire in the streets, once unthinkable, is no more uncommon. Petty criminals and even school students appear to have easy access to weapons. A 19-year-old boy was shot dead in an altercation with other students in the southwest Delhi this year. Last month alone, 4 cases of gun violence were recorded in Delhi. No part of the country appears to be immune. This calls not just for a severe crackdown on illegal firearms, but also a de-romanticization of guns. The media, including filmmakers, rap artists, and video game vendors, need to regulate their content so that youth understand power does not, in fact, flow from the barrel of a gun. Strict laws must be introduced, and those who disobey must charge harshly. This is high time that the government at every level, with the help of administration, take in charge to tackle the problem. Steps must be ensured at a very grassroots level. I have high hopes. Able to tackle this crisis. Questions?
Are you through, Arjun?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
All right. So, anybody who would like to interject, Arjun?
Can I interject over
Yeah,
here?
sure, Vedant.
Yes. So you've talked a lot about gun violence, and a lot of your focal points are about gun accessibility. We're not talking about accessibility over here. We're talking about representation. And representing guns is very, very different from handing a gun to someone and expecting them not to kill someone. That is a very different thing. If you're familiar with the communication model, it's the first thing you learn in mass media. It's that there is an encoding process and a decoding process. And mass media is only responsible for the encoding process. What people decode from that, what they infer from what they watch, is a very different question altogether. And therefore, you're talking about putting a gun in someone's hand, but no one's really doing that except for people who fail to make laws to counter gun control. So to counter gun accessibility, they fail to put in laws to enforce gun control. So what role are you saying that the media plays in handing a gun to someone?
So in my speech, I told that government and administration should work at very grassroots level to tackle these problems. A lot of violence which occurs does not happen with licensed guns, but with the unlicensed guns. That's all.
Ma'am, can I follow up, please?
Yeah, sure.
Again, we are just not talking about that. The grassroots level, the high tower level, none of that matters. We're talking about representation. And representation isn't going to do anything to enforce gun control or give guns to people. Neither of those are under the power of what is shown on a screen or through a video game. Therefore, the legality and the illegality of guns is not in question over here. Maybe the representation of the illegality or the legality of guns is, but the fact itself remains that the media isn't responsible for the actions of a few individuals.
If you follow Punjabi music videos, you must be seeing a lot of guns are used in that videos, and many youth very much it catches the attention of the youth, and they also get impressed and they want to try out that. So that's all I want to say.
All right. Can anybody else who would like to interject?
Ma'am, I have actually.
Pranay.
I want to.
Yeah.
Ma'am, he said that in many videos we have seen guns and all. Ma'am, but I don't think by watching those videos they are directly telling us to get a gun and like kill anybody. It is just representation, the work of fiction. Any normal person would know that any movie series is a work of fiction. The basic idea of a movie is only the work of fiction. So, like, I don't think they are in the video or movie they are telling that use the gun and kill everybody. Except that there is a small warning in the left side that no man was harmed during this video or no man was harmed during the movie, and you should not use this. There are many warnings, but why is he not talking about that?
Ma'am, can I add on to that point, please?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so again, when it comes to representation, as he's rightly mentioned over here, they are representing their lives. This is the life they have grown up with. Yes, the life has been surrounded by guns, but that's not their fault because they were just one person caught in a whirlwind of violence at that point. So
yes, actually, that's what I'm saying. I was asking him only that in video they are not directly telling us to get a gun and kill anybody. They are giving us warnings.
Exactly. So they're showing their lives. They're depicting their lives. How can you say that what is real to them translates into a reality that they have created? Because that's not what happens.
Yes, that's what I've actually.
Promoting violence of any kind is, and promoting arms is something not a normal thing. We should not take it as a normal thing to do. That's it. All I have to say.
All right. Do we have anybody who would like to speak on the topic?
Ma'am, can I go for it?
Ma'am, can I?
Let's have Akshara.
Okay. Greetings to one and all. This is Akshara Veeramallu from Ambitus World School, and I'll be talking against the motion. Guns are a necessary tool in this world. They protect against home invasions, terrorist incidents, and mass shootings. Furthermore, when one knows how to use it, or is at least familiar with it, it can help them in any sort of havoc, which in return increases the knowledge about guns to the people. Firearms are tools that may be used for good or evil. It's well known that weapons may be used in robberies, murders, and terrorism. However, there are also legitimate uses for guns, including sports, hobbyist collecting, and personal protection. Almost every major study on the issue has found that Americans use their firearms in self-defense between 500,000 and 3 million times annually. Adding on to a 2015 National Shooting Sports Foundation analysis, more than 48% of women surveyed kept a gun for self-defense and home defense, and more than 80% of women reported feeling more secure as a result of possessing a handgun. Getting rid of a particular tool will not stop people from committing acts of violence. Besides, we could preserve the culture of guns by not banning them, since they were in use for benefit for quite a long time. For instance, as weapons at borders for countries to be ready for wars or any attacks, by police officers for the protection of the country, and many more. So, spreading awareness about guns through gun culture is very effective, as people who are interested in carrying guns will understand the role of the tool and when to use it if they have to use it. This again reduces crime levels due to the increased gun safety awareness. In conclusion, the Daily Signal has stated that it certainly doesn't negate the plethora of times that law-abiding citizens swiftly and safely act as their first line of defense against criminals when the police can't get there in time. Thank you.
Do we have anybody who would like to interject, Akshara? All right, can we have the next speaker then?
Yes, ma'am. Can I speak next?
Vedant.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. My name is Vedant from Freedom International School in Bangalore. Actions speak louder than words, and guns speak louder than both. And so we must speak louder than the guns. And so when we're talking about gun representation in media, and if you're talking about banning gun representation in media, what you are talking about is censorship. You're talking about censoring guns in media. And censorship, there is a sensible and a very reasonable restriction and a very reasonable line to which you can draw it. But you don't get to decide that line. Very few of us get to decide that line. And it isn't even me. When you're talking about censorship, you're dragging it onto a level where you are preventing the reality of gun culture to be shown in a movie about gun culture. Basically, what I'm saying is a movie about guns isn't adding to gun culture. The constant usage of guns is adding to gun culture. Mass shootings are the things that are inspiring people, not movies. Movies are showing the reality of what's going on. They're showing the brutality of gun culture. Tomorrow, if you're talking about banning guns, tomorrow you're going to have a movie where the military just uses water pistols, which is just going to be the most ridiculous thing because it's unreal. It is unreal levels of bad. The next thing is that the media can't be held responsible for the actions of certain individuals. Like I said, mass media is an encoding and decoding process. Encoding is within the hands of the media. If they are giving a message that guns are good, which at this moment none of them are, or at least not the prominent ones, then what is decoded by the listener or by the consumer is not at all even tangentially related to what the media is trying to show. A movie theater that can seat 1,000 people is going to have 1,000 people leave it with 1,000 different opinions about the same thing that they watched. And so the media can't control what one person thinks. It can't control what one person wants to see in a movie. Another point that I have is that there is no concrete proof that on a large scale, the media has affected the usage of guns on a larger scale. It hasn't affected the buying of guns or even drops in the sales of guns. The media just isn't responsible for things like that. It's not possible for them to be responsible for things like that. And eventually you have to wonder why this debate is going on, because it's a clear distraction from what is real action. You're just talking about banning representation of guns in media because you don't want to talk about the real thing that's going to stop guns from being there, which is reasonable restrictions, which is increasing the mandatory firearm owning age, putting background checks, all of those things. You're not talking about them because if you start a debate with elbow deep pockets, you're going to have the same people lobbying for guns as the same people lobbying for gun culture being represented in media, which is the gun companies. Someone here mentioned that gun companies pay movies to depict guns. Almost every industry does that. But what else do gun companies do? They pay politicians to talk low about gun control. They pay politicians to actively talk about Second Amendment rights, or in India, fundamental freedoms and things we can own. It's about ownership. Gun companies will always oppose gun control, but they will also always oppose the banning of representation in media. Lastly, there are psychological implications to it that aren't as deep as everyone here has made it seem. You are casting a very bad light on people with mental illnesses, people with violent tendencies. Yes, it is true that it is out of some people's control what they do. That is true. But in most mass shootings and even in a lot of cases in India, what is the fundamental thing that it all boils down to? It's usually not mental illness. It is usually bigotry. It's usually hatred. It's usually a deep level of misogyny or racism in some way, shape, or form. So if you're talking about banning all of those things in the media, there are already things like that. There are already censorship boards that would flag racially insensitive content. That's already a thing. But that's what motivates people to buy guns. Maybe not mental illness to the extent that most people are touting over here. Usually it is bigotry and hatred. Whereas when it comes to politicians, they don't have such a censorship because they can say what they want, right? Because it's their political opinion. Hatred can be a political opinion for some people, and so can bigotry, and so can racism, and so can misogyny. That is what influences people and makes people take a call to action. Eventually, what you're doing is you're robbing individuals of choice by saying that they watch a movie and they buy a gun because of that movie. No, we are almost always in control of all of our actions, and you're ignoring that. You're trying to make people seem invalid in the sense of making their own judgment, in the sense of forming their own opinions, and in the sense of performing their own actions, which is not the reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Vedant. So do we have anybody who would like to interject, Vedant?
Ma'am, may I?
Yes, Soumya.
Like you said, representation, it's all about mentality. But recently, an illegal weapon factory was busted in Hathras, and that owner is because the reason was the representation that he saw through this entertainment platforms, they encouraged him to erect such factories for unlicensed and illegal weapons. So don't you feel it's harmful for the society there?
I also said that what you're doing is, I also said that people have certain controls over themselves. There are some people who you can hand a gun and beg them with all your life to shoot someone, but they still won't do it. No matter what movie they've seen, no matter how much Call of Duty they've played, no matter how much GTA 5 they've played, it won't happen because they have self-control. This person committed an illegal act not because he saw something that encouraged him to commit an illegal act. He saw something for sure. Maybe that's where he got the idea from. But him committing that illegal act was well within his right, his ability to stop that. He didn't have to do that. He did it because he wanted to do it, not for any other reason. He could watch anything. He could watch anything, but that wouldn't have influenced him to the level that everyone here is saying that it would have, because it just couldn't.
Okay, thank you.
So, do we have any other interjections, or let's just switch to another speaker?
May I speak?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Am I visible?
Yes, Prayag.
Good evening, everyone. I am Prayagraj Khatri, representing the Umaid International School, Rajasthan, and I am a student of class 10. Guns do not kill, people do. Instead of penalizing ordinary citizens, we should punish criminals who uses gun. Imposing the mandatory long prison sentences on criminal will reduce crime more effectively than a gun control. Stronger gun control laws will make it more difficult for the citizen to protect themselves and their families. Crimes threaten everyone, and the police are not usually around when the criminal appears. Gun control would destroy the time owner tradition. There is no existing gun control laws have reduced crime and violence. New York City and Washington D.C. have the strong gun control laws in the nation. Yet the crime and the violence are serious there than in many cities. Without strong gun laws, even if the gun control laws did reduce and the uses of handguns, the criminals would simply shift to the another weapons. Today we have the police department to protect us. Countries with the strict gun control have much lower murder rates. We have never had a strong gun control laws covering the entire nation, making handguns more difficult to be obtained with significantly reduce violence. Now let me tell you about some of the advantages or the benefits of keeping a gun. It can make you feel safer. Perhaps the most popular reason for buying a gun is the safety reason. Having a gun stored away at home in a hostel while you are out and about can give you a sense of feeling more protected, no more circumstances. It can help you to improve your motor skills. Once you buy a gun, you then have to spend a lot of the time to how to use it properly. As a result, you might notice that your motor skills become more fine-tuned and you have the better physical discipline overall. Knowing how to operate a gun means that you are naturally build your eye-hand coordination skills. You will also become more attuned to your surroundings, increasing your ability to make quick decisions when needed. Thank you.
All right. Do we have anybody who would like to interject, Prayag?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Suryanshi.
Yes, okay, Prayag. So you have talked about how one of the main reasons for using guns is self-defense, but the topic of the debate in question is representation of gun culture, right? So, considering the topic, I would like to ask you: do you know of any media platforms or any movie, any series where they have showed self-defense, where they have actually focused on defending yourself using guns instead of simply blatantly killing people using guns?
No, I have not seen it, but we should try because we do not know that when something happens. You can see the latest news is that someone from saying by the delivery man comes to our house and he tries to thug us. So what will we do? We will try to tackle him.
But That's a completely different topic, right? That's illegal. That's criminal activities, right? That's not what it is. The topic in question is representation. So that's what I'm asking you.
I said this is only my answer to the question.
Okay.
All right. So, do we have anybody who would like to speak for the topic?
May I?
Pranay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Pranay.
Ma'am, am I visible?
No, not yet.
1 second. Am I now?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll start.
Yeah.
Good morning, jury, teachers, my fellow students, and everybody watching. My name is Pranay Purohit, and I will be speaking against the motion, which means that I don't believe that we should ban the representation of gun culture, because I don't think that that will solve the problem. The thing which can solve the problem is spreading awareness, because if we can spread awareness, then we can tell people, and especially the youth of our generation, that owning a gun doesn't make you a good person. Owning a gun doesn't make you a powerful person. And now, if you're talking about movies, etc., then I can say that in every movie they have given warnings that it is 18 plus, 16 plus, and 13 plus. If you believe that you might not able to control yourself after watching the movie and you must perform a violent act, then you should not watch the movie. And you should ask your parents to educate yourself, to educate you. Because when we don't know about something, what do? We educate ourselves. And by just this, if you're saying that these programs, movies, and series are because the reasons of the violence, then it doesn't make any sense. Because if this was true, then after watching the movie Sher Shah, I want to go to the army. But that is not true. Everybody have different mentalities, and we should treat those mentalities by single one, because media cannot get to them. Now, one more thing is, if you're saying that banning the gun presentation will stop the crime, then it is not true. It is the same as saying that if the person is having a stage fright, so you remove the fright of the stage, that it is not true. You calm the person. You just do not take the stage and throw it away. And if you are talking about places, then I want to like to give the example of Switzerland, because Switzerland is having 2 million firearm licenses available, but still only 45 to 47 homicide or gun related violence have been, which is less than 0.000005%. By this, I would like to conclude my speech and I would like to thank you, and I hope that I would have changed your mind. Thank you.
Do we have anybody who would like to interject, Pranay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Suryanshi.
Yes. Okay, Pranay, so you mentioned the movie Sher Shah and like how you said it wouldn't influence me to get into army. Okay, but are we completely ignoring the fact that movies, entertainment platforms, they have no influence over us? I don't think so. I also believe that constant exposure to such violent, not Sher Shah, but violent movies like and series like Mirzapur, for example, constant exposure to such type of series might lead to violent tendencies. Wouldn't you agree?
No, actually, if you are giving the example of series like Mirzapur, which whole you have been asking, and I think you asked the last person also. So like Sher Shah only, there are many other movies which don't promote this. But are the crimes getting less then? But if they're increasing with watching Mirzapur, then they can get less with watching Sher Shah. Because when a parent gives a gun to his child, a military gun, that doesn't mean the parent want to terrorize the child. The parent want the child to be proud of his country, because when we watch soldiers in the movie like Major, a current movie it is Major, how a person saved countless life in that Mumbai attack, then it is decreasing. If you are saying Mirzapur, I can say Major.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
The floor open.
Yes. Who would like to interject?
Harshit, is it okay?
Harshit.
Okay, if you want to go ahead.
All right, Harshit.
As you mentioned that in Switzerland there are over 2 million gun license given to normal people, and the crime rate is less than 1%. But comparing to countries like Switzerland and Japan, most of the country and majority of countries have more crime rates in relevance to guns. And what if some coming to India, it's completely different when compared to Switzerland. And what if criminals in India tries to smuggle goods from Switzerland?
Ma'am, actually, I didn't understand this question. So can you rephrase it?
Yes. As you mentioned that Switzerland people have 2 million licensed guns.
Yes.
So what if criminals from India tries to smuggle those licensed guns and use it over here?
They have 2 million licenses, firearm licenses, not 2 million guns. They have 2 million firearm licenses, which are privately owned. If they want even 100,000 guns, that do you think criminals will go to 100,000 different people? Because I don't think one person will own more than 2 or 3 guns. And the second thing is they cannot, because the Switzerland, the gun rules are very tight. Even if earlier you have did a smallest of a crime, then they will not give you a gun. Even if you have got a gun from your grandfather or father, you have to report it. So I don't understand the relevance, because I said they have 2 million firearm licenses. First thing is this. And second thing, 200 firearm licenses are with different people, not one person. So they cannot take 100,000 guns from Switzerland. And I don't think the country will sell to criminals. This is what I believe.
But you are mentioning that they cannot take 100,000 guns, but 2 or 3 guns are enough to kill enough people, right?
Yes, that's why again I said rules. They cannot, because of the rules. After the attack on Mumbai, you realize it was a very big attack on the Mumbai Taj Hotel earlier, I think. That's why the regulations have been hardened. They cannot just smuggle guns. There are documentaries also that people are trying to smuggle guns and drugs, and like 100 of them, all of them are mostly caught. So I think no. And I have seen that smuggling guns is very successful nowadays. Within the country, it might be, but that is not relevant to the topic, which is presentation of guns in movies. It does not imply smuggling of guns.
Is the floor still open for questioning?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. So, Pranay, just to clarify, you believe that the media does not hold a place in causing gun violence in reality, correct?
Yes.
Nice. So, and you also mentioned that there are advisories which are like 13 above, 16 above for things. My question to you is very simple. Okay. Why do you think the advisories are put into place?
Because the makers are thinking that this much of these things are not able, the person might not comprehend, and he might take it to the other level.
So can I infer that media does have an influence on what you infer from the movie? Media does have an influence of how it impacts you?
They are stopping it. How they are having a bad influence?
No. The advisory is put in the first place because media does have the capability to influence people's minds. Correct?
No, it is there.
Yes, it's a yes or no question.
Can you rephrase it?
Okay. So you very clearly mentioned that there are advisories put into place to stop people from... Yeah, perfectly fine. Why are these advisories put into place? Because the media does have the potential to influence people's minds. Yes or no?
No.
Why is that?
No. I'll give you some. Why are they putting stop signs then? Why they are putting speed breakers? Putting something does not mean, let me rephrase, putting something like 13 plus advisories does not mean that it will directly influence the person. It is just a beneficial thing which will help the person, so he's not he's not like in his mind, he's not thinking about those other things. He's watching it to appropriate of what is appropriate of his age.
Okay, I will. I don't want to reiterate again. I think I'll stop it here. I just want to make my point clear to everyone that advisories are put for smoking and alcohol and drug use and gun violence because media does have the potential to influence people's mind. There's some sort of fear, correct, that is there in people, that the media very much can influence people to do certain things, which is why there's an advisory in the first place. So the whole fact that media has absolutely no role in influencing people to do things, whether it be gun violence or buying a product or buying an iPhone without the charger, is just pointless. It's ridiculous.
Buying a gun and these advisories, representation of gun, I'm not seeking the reference what you're trying to tell me. But what I'm telling is they do not have they're putting the advisories because they want to benefit. It is the rule that you have to put the advisories. It is not by their choice. It is a rule you have to put.
Why is it a rule?
Ma'am, may I add on to Pranay's point over here, please?
Yeah, Vedant.
Yes. So, first of all, the argument is not and has never been that media has no role in influencing people. That's not the argument. The argument is that no matter what the influence in the world is, the action that people take is well within their own hands. No matter who influences or what is the influence. That's the point. That's the first point. And the second point is that those advisories are put as first of all, yes, they are put because there are rules that have asked for them to be put in place. Secondly, they have also been put not about the influence part of it, but because a lot of people find depictions of gun violence extremely triggering. That's like asking, why do people put strobe light warnings in movies? Because sometimes people, if they see bright flashing lights, they could fall into epilepsy. It's a public safety concern. It's not to deter them from buying guns. It's not to deter them from stealing guns. That's not what the point here is.
It's to help them. It is to benefit them.
Yeah, it is a mental health safeguard over there. It is not a safeguard asking you to not look at this and go and buy a gun. If they wanted us to do that, they would say, don't pay for the movie. They would say, close your eyes on this scene. And they don't do that.
And if you want to, then you can get your parents to educate you about the certain topic. I think I also said that.
Yeah, I think Vedant's answer does satisfy. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Can I speak?
Yes, Sridhan.
Yes, ma'am. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Sridhan and I'm from Ambitus World School. And today I'll be talking for the motion. So, according to the National Crime Records Bureau report, some 75,000 firearms were seized in that year, about half of them from UP. The Small Arms Survey of 2018 claimed that civilian gun ownership in India stands at an astounding 70 million, second only to the US. The figure seems bizarre, given that gun licenses in India number just 3.4 million, over a third of them in the Uttar Pradesh. While UP and Bihar, followed by Madhya Pradesh, continue as the leading suppliers of illegal weapons, new factories are believed to have come up close to the national capital region. Petty criminals and even school students appear to have easy access to weapons. A 19-year-old boy was shot dead in an altercation with other students in southwest Delhi this year. Last month alone, 4 incidents of gun violence were recorded in Delhi. We thought that India has very strict gun laws, and that is very true. But still, the illegal guns in circulation are at an astounding amount. There are regular raids being conducted by the police officials, also busting many illegal factories, mainly in the north. If the guns will be even more advertised by the gangs as gun culture, there is without doubt going to be an unprecedented increase in civilians carrying both legal and illegal guns. It is very, very rare for the mass shooters to be stopped by an armed civilian. There have been cases, such as when an Uber driver with a concealed carry permit potentially foiled a mass shooting in Chicago 2015. The chances of civilians saving lives in a terrorist attack or mass shooting is very less, as it causes even more panic and confusion to the victims and the officials to figure out who is the shooter and who is a civilian. The murder of singer Sidhu Moosewala in Punjab and of teacher Rajni Bala in Jammu over the last 1 week underlines the gun culture prevailing in many parts of India, just as the killing of 19 school children in Texas on May 24 highlights gun violence in the US. All of these crimes in India are done without even a small influence from a massive Western gun culture. India has been under these countries for 200 years and lived with their ideologies, and it has constantly been proved that the Western culture has caused more harm than good. Let that be in the way we dress, the drugs or the guns. It has either taken or completely ruined innocent lives.
All right. Do we have any interjections? And we would like to wind up. So I would want a quick response from everybody now on. So do we have any interjections or do we have the speakers?
I would like to make a speak.
I would like to speak now.
Kadambari, you want to speak? Srishti, do you have an interjection or speaking? Do you want to speak?
I do want to speak.
All right. So let just Kadambari say first something.
Okay.
Kadambari. So meanwhile, Kadambari, connects back to us. Or Kadambari, are you with us? Kadambari, just fix your glitch, maybe an audio video glitch. Meanwhile, Srishti, could you just take over?
Okay, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Srishti Singh, and I am representing Freedom International School, Bangalore. And I'll just probably get on with it. Arlene. So, sounds like a very nice name. Arlene is a character that is inspired from the computer game Doom in 1993. Do you know what it also is? It is also the name of the shotgun that Eric Harrison used when he had fired the Colombian High 1999 shooting. He named his shotgun after a movie character that he really liked, a video game character. Firearms are used in 86% of homicides committed by the juveniles. Suicides, and what we have seen throughout this debate is that we are completely ignoring the other gun violence that we see in society in general. Suicides and unintentional gunshots claim more lives of juveniles than mass killings. The problem is the very ownership of guns, the want and the need to have a gun. Now, in a lot of countries, especially America, it is a legal right, a fundamental right for people to defend themselves. So with firearms. So it's very hard to believe that a family would not be having firearms. But a juvenile, when a gun is in your family, the urge of a juvenile to go and hold the gun and pull the trigger is something that can be triggered by so many different things. The production companies, as I said before, as I had the opportunity to say before in this debate, the production companies are constantly sponsored by gun companies. In fact, Glock actually won the Lifetime Achievement Award for having the best product placement a few years ago. They were featured in 22 box office #1 movies. If this does not influence public, I don't know what does. Advertisements make guns look attractive. They make guns look cool. It's cool to be pulling a trigger and flipping the coil around your hand because, cowboys do that too. Again, the glorification of gun violence is seen in so many places. The video games we play. I think it's very well established by my peers in this debate that video games do not just cause a certain amount of anger that can be found in teenagers. And I think parents would much more agree with that. But it also makes people numb to violence. It makes them not accountable for their actions and don't understand the magnitude of their actions. You're holding a gun and getting points for shooting people. In a video game, you might as well just hold a gun and shoot people in real life, isn't it? That's how it becomes for a lot of people. Media literacy is a subject. Media literacy is a subject that is taught in a lot of schools abroad. Why is it taught? Because media has the ability to influence how you sit, how you eat, how you walk, how you talk, what you buy, what you sell, everything. And firearms are no exception. If media has known to be influencing towards alcohol, drug use, and tobacco use, it has also been known to influence firearms. Another aspect that I feel like we're ignoring in this entire debate is news coverage, right? The 1999 Columbine High School shooting in USA was followed by the 2007 Virginia High School shooting, wherein the shooter himself was had slogans around with him, which said that his urge was to create a shooting that was much larger than that of the Columbine High School. The desire of theirs to do it better, which in this sense means killing more people. Castillo wore trench coats that the Columbine High School shooters did. He mimicked their weaponry. He named his shotgun Arlene, like Eric Harrington also did. So the covering that media does, even when it comes to news, it's the media's responsibility to give you news and frame it in order to give the maximum encouragement to practice not to do such things, as most chaotic parts of us would be attracted to. They question the intrusive thoughts that you have about it. So at the end of the day, what it means is that when media can influence everything you do, from buying the simplest of things to influencing you to feel patriotism, to influencing you to feel hate, love, everything. Your rom-coms. Why do you watch rom-coms? Why do you watch any movie? It gives you emotion, the feeling, the need. And of course, I absolutely agree that there is a legal implication to this. The legal implication is what will certainly contribute in stopping gun violence in general. But when there are multiple angles to a problem, all angles need to be addressed. There is an access angle to access of firearms. There is also the need, the want, and the urge to have guns. That is what we need to understand. Just because you feel like tightening the laws is one aspect of it. The media and encouraging people to not invest in guns, encouraging people to not want or need guns is one more aspect of it. And both of them should be equally respected. Thank you.
Thank you, Srishti, for putting up your thoughts across. Do we have anybody who would like to speak or interject her? Let's have it. So, Meenal, would you like to speak or would you like to interject?
Yes, ma'am. Interject. I've always.
All right.
Yeah. So you mentioned, like I'll just state it, there are a number of things which are banned. You said suicide. So I'll just give you an example. It is not legally allowed to attempt suicide, but still people attempt suicide. And last year it was at its peak. So for a second, we assume that we ban the representation of gun culture. Do you really think that gun violence would stop?
I didn't understand the connection between the suicide point and the gun culture point.
Yeah, I'll state again. So many things are banned. Okay?
Yeah.
And if you know that it is illegal to attempt suicide.
Right.
But people still do, right?
Right.
Yeah. So do you think that if we ban the representation of gun culture, the gun violence would stop?
Okay, I'm sorry, I still fail to understand the collection, but I will answer the second part of your question. Yeah. That if we stop the representation, you're asking if we stop the representation of gun violence,
if we ban the representation of
gun violence, will gun violence actually stop? Right? Okay. Yeah. So I'll just I'll give you a similar scenario, correct? I mean, actually, I don't find sure. Procuring guns for minors is also illegal. Correct? It is still done. Correct?
Yeah.
School shootings are mostly done by minors. Correct? So on the same pattern of thought that you were following, if legal implications can be broken, so can media influence gun violence. See, you're making laws and they're broken and there's still gun violence. Your media influences people, it still harms them and still there's gun violence. I mean, we're both leading to the same deadlock. So your point has as many loopholes as mine does. If it
No,
does at all.
like you are just blaming the easiest point which you can blame instead
What
of
is
the representation. That is the easiest point to blame on, and that is the easiest point to blame on.
It's not a blame, it is accountability. Do you know the scope of mass media, the ambit of mass media? I say I tweet something today, it will be in the hands of a million, billions of people in seconds, right? Something that magnitude, and you're saying that it can't affect people. It's reaching.
I don't know if you are aware, but nowadays us youngsters are more aware of our surroundings, are more aware that how social media is so fake, how it represents something.
Meenal, that is you, and I'm very proud of you for being that aware, but that is not everyone. That is really not everyone. And trust me,
so there was a survey conducted in USA in, I guess, 2016, and more than 80% of the population were aware of their social surroundings and how social media is very bad.
Okay. I would like to emphasize, and this is for the benefit of the committee, it takes one bullet, one person. It doesn't take more than that. It takes one bullet and one person to create.
I totally agree. But I'm just saying that you're... Yeah, sure.
I'm so sorry. Let me just quickly finish. And sure, I might... You might just be right about what you're saying. But the point is that the influence of media in a lot of these shootings, as we were talking about, is very evident. I just stated an example for you. I can state you 6 more. I literally have it here. When it's a common factor, right? When it's a common factor, mathematically, even logically, when it's a common factor, it has to be addressed. You're trying to uproot it from the ground level, so am I. If it's a common factor for shooters to be influenced by media, then there must be something wrong. Correct? There must be somewhere.
Can I say, do you really think it is the representation or underlying mental illness that actually disturbs them?
I will again, I think, reiterate what another member of ours in the committee said. I feel like we're showing mental illness in a very bad light in this committee in general. It doesn't make sense to and kind of put them in such a wrong light and say that anybody who is mentally ill is like beyond the control of his actions or whatever. The thing is that when we saw the PUBG case that happened a few days ago, when we saw so many other things that happened days ago, parents are regulating their kids. They're doing everything in their will and wish. Parents watching this can say, stand by that. And I know my parents are too. They try really hard. So I don't know where the upbringing part comes, where the influence part comes, where the law part comes. Law part is absolutely true. But like I said, when there are multiple angles to a question, problem, all of the angles need to be addressed. Everything. And when it's common, it has to be addressed.
All right. So can we have a short, we do have a shortage of time.
Yeah, sure.
So do we have any other speakers left or?
Yes, ma'am, I would like to speak now.
Dropad, all right, Dropad, you can go next.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Good evening, everyone present here. My name is Rupal Agarwal from the Umaid International School, Abrod, Rajasthan, and I am very excited for this debate competition. And I will be speaking for the motion category. Representation of gun mafia and gun culture in today's entertainment world creates a very bad impact in today's young generation and today's uneducated people's mind. And to prove this statement, one series was also created which was based on a child who killed a cab driver just to complete a task of a video game. And this was based on a true story. And having a gun in the house also increases own chances of becoming a victim of a firearm related homicide or suicide in the home by the people who are already influenced by these representations by shown in the movies or in these shows or series. And unfortunately, guns can't decide between criminals and innocent people. Studies have shown that unintentional shootings are 4 times as common as occurrence of gun use in legitimate home defense situations. You would be actually be more likely to shoot someone by accident than you are to shoot a home invader. It is good to know that guns have a great deal of disadvantages despite their good aspects. To begin with, while keeping a gun with you as name on the name of self-protection, kids can also get a hold of these guns and accidentally shoot others or themselves out of curiosity. There are many instances where people have owned guns and have shot someone accidentally thinking that they are intruders. People also often commit suicide and while having guns. This also creates one more option to have suicide. That's why I think representation of gun culture and gun mafia in these movies should be banned. Thank you.
All right. Do we have anybody who would like to interject?
Ma'am, I have one question.
Yeah, Pranay.
Yes, ma'am. Am I visible?
No, not yet.
Am I now?
I will let you know when you are.
Ma'am, because I can actually see.
Yes, you are now.
Okay. So, ma'am, the last point he said is that people commit suicide with guns. Is that correct? You said that?
Yeah.
Ma'am, but I don't think it is like, why is he taking that guns? Because of guns only suicide is happening. There are other reasons. It's because the person it's because of the reason the person is depressed or is having anxiety. That's why he want to commit suicide. It is not because he has gun in the house.
So yeah, my point was like because he is having a gun, that's why he's not having a suicide. I'm saying that while he's depressed or for some other reasons, and because he's having a gun, it creates one more option and one more step towards suicide, to take suicide if he's having a gun. That's creating more easy way to.
No, because I don't think just looking at the gun, even if you're depressed, want you to kill yourself just with the gun. To be honest, there are other, like, you can do other things. People does other things. So, like, I'm not sure the point is that correct.
But depressed people mindset is different. And
the simple thing which you said and you agreed to is that having a gun in the house will proceed you to commit suicide. And I'm saying it is not true, because many people, like I told, 2 million firearm licenses are in Switzerland. Does that mean that 2 million people will commit suicide?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if a person is already depressed with some other reasons, not regarding to the gun of a person having a gun, I'm just saying that if they are having a gun and they are depressed, then it creates one more step easy for them to commit suicide.
So, but by this means you can say that we should remove fans, we should remove poison, we should remove like the things which are not good for us, because those are also the means in which people commit suicide. So should we remove those also? Then, like, we should not make skyscrapers because people can commit suicide by jumping.
Like for poison and gun and all, banning is not an only option, right? We can just reduce that also.
No, you said a simple thing, and I'm telling to that. You said that because of these things, because of a gun I'm seeing, a depressed person mind works differently, so he will commit suicide. But then there are skyscrapers. I live on a building with 7 floors. Does that mean that if anybody feeling depressed will directly jump from the skyscrapers, so I should not construct them? Does it have any like logical sense? That's what I'm asking. That having a gun will proceed you.
No, that's where the role of these representation of gun in these movies and all come. People have that bad impact of these gun representation and gun mafias and all. That's why they choose a gun more likely.
Do you have any proof of that? That they'll choose the gun more likely? Because I don't think there is a theory.
Yeah, this can be one of the reasons. I'm not saying that they will choose gun only, or it is not based on the suicide only. I said other points also. Right?
Yes, but you said that we should remove the gun culture because they might suicide from it. So should we remove skyscrapers? Now that is what I'm asking, and you are not answering the question.
For skyscrapers, other precautions can also be added for that if we have to reduce committing suicide.
Like? If a person wants to kill himself, there are millions of reasons. You cannot stop him unless you are binding him with rope.
Yeah, I was also trying to say that.
So you are
agreeing? All right. So do we have another speaker who would like to speak?
Ma'am, can I ask?
Yeah, do we have anyone?
Ma'am, can I speak?
Yeah, Soumya.
Ma'am, am I visible?
Yes, absolutely.
Hello everyone, this is Soumya Yadav from School of Scholars Banadongri and I am here for the motion. Gun representation, the gun culture, it refers to the intentions the society or the individual has who owns the gun. And the recent murder of the famous singer in Punjab, Sidhu Moosewala, Rajniwala in Jammu and Kashmir, a teacher, a rioter pointing a pistol at a policeman in 2020 Northeast Delhi riot, a group of gangsters in broad daylight in 2021 month of March opened fire on the police team escorting a criminal. And few months later, a gangster and two other men were shot dead on the premises of a court where he was appearing. The Hanuman Jayanti procession, it led to a communal clash, which was marked by gunfire. 19-year-old boy was shot dead in an altercation with another student in Southeast Delhi. All these provide us that the intention of the majority of the gun owners are neither good nor safe at all. According to a US report of 2020, guns were the leading cause of death among children and teenagers. Then the celebratory gun firing at weddings causes death every year. Even children and youth of the country, of the globe, are having easy access to illegal and unlicensed weapons. So guns, they were introduced for self-defense purposes, then for sports and entertainment, and not for massacring the people. The glorification of gun culture and gun mafias to entertainment platform is very harmful for the society because entertainment platforms are even supporting it, like the OTT series, which has been mentioned a lot of times, Mirzapur. Then uploading of videos on YouTube or others easily publicly accessible platforms which teaches us to make guns and other weapons at home, and then romanticizing guns through pop culture, through music, through videos, and through movies is also a harm because entertainment platform reach to a big audience, and audience is easily and greatly impacted by the influential personality. So all these figures shows us the very reason that by banning of the representation of gun mafia or the gun culture is the need of the hour. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any interjections? Or do we have a speaker?
May I?
Yes, Meenal.
Interject. Yes, ma'am. So at the end, you said that the representation of culture is the problem.
Yeah, but just a small information. Yes, if you have interjections, let it be quick and crisp. And if you want to speak, speak because we are time bound now.
Yes, ma'am. You said in your speech that the representation of gun culture is the problem. But we all know that mere representation wouldn't get you the weapons required for violence. Yeah, like representation, when we say all those, whatever representation we are having, basically it is represented by media, if you say, and there are those disclaimers telling you like particular age, and they are giving you warnings. But when we go for the people who really own them, and we see the majority of the gun owners, I made that point, majority of them use it just for mass killing and agitation, and they are not the ones who are paying any heed to the warnings, even though when you see them, they are already of that age, 21, 22, 25, or more than that. They are very much able to understand the fact that using guns is an illegal job, and what they are using is an unlicensed weapon being used. This is what they are very much aware, but they are not ready to accept it. Then it is causing the death of a lot of people. So if we just simply ban this representation in a different way, why can't it go for the positive ones? It's going on the negative track, and that's why the innocent people are being killed who are not at all related to all those people. Okay, fine. It's fine.
Any-
Ma'am, can I
Who wants to interject?
Akshaya, ma'am?
Yeah. All right. You want to interject?
Just a small question. It will
Yes,
not
yes.
take a lot of time.
All right.
He's mentioned in the thing that children can also access illegal weapons or illegal guns, right? You have mentioned in what it's spoken, right? If I'm not wrong. And where do you how is the media influencing children to go take the illegal things and all that and use them? I don't think so. Media or any kind of OTT platform or anything influence people. Maybe they show how guns are used, but it is a different thing. They don't influence to take illegal things, right? Children, they are very small to interpret that they have to take illegal things and all that.
Okay, the point that I talked about, that it is accessible to the children and the youth. The children that come under are, of course, the teenagers who are causing that agitation right now, who are the person who are responsible, youth and children. So children of that age, teenagers, are quite aware because they have got the senses. They're already in the adolescent range and they know that what is right and what is wrong. They have that mindset, but still they can't know because what they have seen is influencing them greatly and immensely. And that's why all the representation also provides them with a strong reason to support their views or their urge for having that violence and creating it.
Can I ask a small follow-up question?
Yeah.
Ma'am, she said that children are accessing these guns, and she told that children are the main reason, the youth is the main reason now they are creating havoc. So ma'am,
no, I didn't mention them as the main reason. I just tell them that they are able to access it.
Okay, so you said that, right?
Yeah.
So ma'am, but for that there is a very easy question, which is implementing in other countries. They are creating awareness. You said that they know what is right, what is wrong. I don't think so, because if they are using a gun on the other person, they have influenced by what you said, by other series and movies, then I don't think they are thinking correctly. So I think creating awareness, their parents educating them, their friends, family members educating, don't you think it will help them to place the guns out? Because you only
for the children, for the parents and for the awareness purposes, that these children are just for example, these children when they grow up, they might become and turn into those gangsters with those guns. The gangsters or mafias right now, whoever they are, aren't they aware of the fact that what they are doing is right or wrong? They know that using guns, these are the illegal and unlicensed weapons that I am using, and what I am doing is causing problem to the people there, and I'm killing those innocent lives and taking them. So this is the people.
You are diverging from the topic. I'm not asking for the mafia. I'm asking for children. Because if 14, 15-year-olds are putting a gun on someone's head, I don't think they're thinking correctly, and we should spread awareness about it. Don't you think this will solve the issue? Yes or no? That's what I'm asking.
Awareness needs to be created, but you need that a large number of people reach and get aware of, they are aware of this fact, and as long as they get aware, how many lives they might take, you never know what all crimes they can commit with those guns.
But if they get awareness, we might not. We also don't know that they might stop doing crimes. And if you are saying that presentation should be banned, then if the person first time goes to airport, a young children, and he see a gun in the soldier's hand, don't you think he will think that that is the evil person? Because of no awareness. You said that we should ban them because the culture, the gun culture in the movies sometimes helps people to understand what the things are.
Okay, gun culture, let me tell you, this term was first when introduced by a person who used to write the articles, and he used this term, gun culture, to
presentation. Gun culture presentation.
Yeah, gun culture, this word, gun culture was used for gun violence. He wanted to criticize it. So gun culture is directly linking to the gun violence, and that's why I'm asking to stop the representation of gun culture and not for making the right impact go wrong. It's basically the gun culture, and gun culture in its sense tells that it's the negative one.
But then don't you think that there are many movies which provide us that, like how soldiers are very good, they're protecting our country. If we can't use guns, we can't.
I'm talking about the movies which are promoting gun culture. And gun culture, it means in its own literal meaning is that gun violence. That is what is supposed to be banned, and it's supposed to be limited. Not the ones which are showing that valor and warrior. That are the qualities that are supposed to be instilled in the child.
Okay.
All right. So, do we have anybody who's willing to have speak or something? Do we have any other speakers, or we would like to wind up now?
Can I speak, ma'am?
Yes, Harshit.
Can you see me, ma'am?
Yes, I can.
Good evening, everyone, respected judges, participants, and all the audience watching. I introduce myself as K. Harshit, grade 9 from Adani World School, Nellore, Andhra Pradesh. Recently, you might have heard about the death of famous Punjabi singer Sidhu Moosewala. He was killed brutally due to gang rivalries and mafia. These mafias not only kill each other but also spoil our society by supplying guns. Due to these mafias, criminals get advanced and modernized weapons from various countries and will be a step ahead of police. As these mafia people keep supplying guns, the percentage of people having guns will be increasing in a flashing speed. There is also a risk that normal people might also get converted into criminals and gangsters by using these guns. The 26/11 attack in Mumbai, which resulted in the deaths of 166 innocent people, is also caused by the gun mafia and the terrorists following gun culture. If these guns are accessible to every person, the crimes like robbery, thefts, etc., would increase gradually. This culture influences the society in a very bad way, mainly young people. If this gun culture continues in the same speed for a few years, every single problem will be dealt with guns, which boosts the rate of violence very high in our country. If the government had taken action on this earlier, today we would have many people alive with us. I think it would be better if government takes action on gun culture as soon as possible so that we can bring down the terrorism and violence rate in our country. This nation is not ready to lose another life because of this culture. So finally, I conclude by saying that this gun culture should be no longer tolerated in any country, and all the governments of all countries should enforce a strict ban on this culture, as this results in terrorism and violence and is also a cause of many people's death. Thank you for letting me share my opinion on this issue.
All right. Do we have any other speakers? Do we have any other speakers?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, Yash, do you want to speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
Ma'am, I'm just going to start my video. Ma'am, is my video on?
Not yet, but yes.
Now?
I can't see you, Yash.
Wait, I'll just.
Anybody who's prepared with both their audios and videos and hasn't spoken for the day and hasn't spoken for the day before. Anybody?
It's not turning on. The camera is not turning on. I don't know for some reason.
Go ahead without the camera then.
Okay, sure. So, good evening, one and all. I, Yashpal from School of Scholars Beltrudi, studying in 9th grade, will be opposing the motion of banning the gun culture. The term gun culture was coined in 1970 by Richard Hofstadter, who viewed it as a monolithic and described it as America's unique belief in the notion that people's right to bear arms is the greatest protection of the individual rights and firm safeguard of democracy. In the context of America in recent times, many incidents paved the way for a debate of banning the firearms for civilians worldwide. The reasons that I state for not banning the gun culture is for the self-defense of people. Much of the debate has focused on gun regulation and keeping the deadly weapons out of the hands of potential killers. Here, I oppose this possibility which is vague. We can't be sure that all arm bearers will have malicious intentions. Next point is that, unfortunately, far less attention has been dedicated to the victims who suffered the loss due to crime against them, which they were not able to defend themselves during a crisis at that point of time. These consequences affect entire communities, families, and children. Aren't we snatching the fundamental right of self defense when we talk about banning guns from all? It should be pointed out that media fails to provide the countermeasures that guns are dangerous, and why not encouraging people to use it mindfully as its fundamental right. Gun violence does exist in India, but at a very small scale. As compared to other countries, India has one of the least percentage of gun acquired population, which is 3.4 guns per 100 people. I believe that our values and teachings are playing a vital role that youth are not involved in the incidents of mass killings. It is immoral to carry a weapon or even buy a weapon in India. Thus, the human consciousness and morality prevents gun violence at a large scale, which is witnessed in other parts of the world. One of the strongest reasons not to ban firearms is that India has one of the strictest laws related to the weapons, which is the Arms Act of 1959. As compared to USA, it's not a constitutional right, and permission for legal ownership is rarely granted. In fact, Arms Rule from 2016 makes licenses necessary, even for airguns. The process of procuring license, though, is difficult and often takes months. They are granted only after a thorough assessment, including background checks. According to my opinion, instead of directly banning guns, we should educate the youth on keeping their mental state stable when they are armed with a weapon. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. So, anybody else who's left to speak for the topic? Kadambari, do you want to speak? Kadambari? All right, I don't know, maybe there's some glitch or something. So we have a lot of views about this topic for and against, and we have a lot of people who just want to express whatever comes right to their perspective and their understanding. And what we understand is there are a lot of ways you perceive a position or a situation, and there are a lot of ways that you handle it. So there may be a different perspective to one personality, and maybe a different perspective altogether, a different new perspective to somebody else. So I would like, ma'am, ma'am, would you like to add something? Would you like to say something? As you know, these kids have said a lot and have interrogated each other with a lot of questions and if and buts. So would you like to have add something, or would you like to acknowledge something?
Definitely. Wow. Well spent evening, and hearing the young generation, their views. Of course, we being mothers, what we are thinking is totally different. We are trying and do our best, as someone said, okay, mothers are doing their best, they are putting restrictions, but at the end, it is just like a toy. They just think, perceive as a toy, and they just have fun to go ahead with the trigger. So that is where we need the awareness to be spread. Definitely stricter laws, yes, laws are there, but they needs to be abided. Laws are always there, our government is doing a lot. It has to be constitutional, yes, we are there. But yes, now again, democracy, we have given democracy, and we have saying it's for our protection, it's in our cupboard. But children are children, we have to be, as adults, taking every care and precaution to not let the children get into this gun violence. And we believe, we come from a country where ahimsa parmo dharam. So our country, our leaders have taught us this. And we always believe in that loka samasta sukhina bhavantu. So it should be for everyone's happiness, and freedom, yes, should be given. But with all these, care and advisories have to be given and repeatedly told to everyone. Thank you, children. Thank you, children, a lot. And you are all the, great participants. You have put across your all views, ideas, and perceptions very clear, and I enjoyed. Thank you, Intab, for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you,
Oh,
ma'am.
well, we are glad to have you, everybody on board, and to share your share and express your viewpoints on the hot topic that whether we should promote, gun culture, or whether we should regularize, or whether, I mean, in any other perspective that you could portray it. So it was really an insightful and very fruitful session. So for more activities, we would like you to subscribe our channel and click on the notification button so that you can have more such activities and such workshops that we come up with. Thank you for now. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.